Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Colonial Downs here on Saturday. It is the 14th of March, 2026. Gonna look at the stakes races here on Virginia Derby Day from Colonial. But before I get on to that, remember to follow me on X at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it around the world. Let's look at the stakes action here from Colonial. Races 5 through 9, so quite a few races to look at. The fifth race from Colonial, it's the Royal New Kent Stakes. It's going for a $100,000 purse. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards here. We field of 6 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile on the main track here at Colonial. I like how this 3-day meeting, you're getting a really good, use of the main track here at Colonial. That doesn't get used that lot. And, I think it's a very underrated dirt course. I absolutely love Colonial. But my top selection here, I'm going to go with the 6-horse Dragon Guard. I'm going to go 6-4-1-2 in the superfecta. 6-4-1-2 super. Top selection 6-horse Dragon Guard. This 5-year-old horse by Arrogate. Brad Cox trains. Irad Ortiz Jr. was supposed to be on. He had a small injury on, I believe, Thursday's card at Goldstream. So he'll be off his mounts this weekend. So we will have a rider to be announced on the day of the race. My top selection Dragon Guard. His most recent race came in the Cherokee Mile at Churchill, 1 mile 30th of November, and he finished second by 1.5 lengths. And from an outside trip, he won on the front end, and he had some good fractions on the front end. He won 109 3 3/4. He just yielded before the wire, but he ran his heart out with that 95 buyer. He's refreshing here to Colonial against some lesser quality horses, has forwardly paced. His track can play towards speed. If you notice last year's March meeting, that's where it was really speed favoring and setting track records left and right. I think he's going to be in a better spot to win than he was last time out. I think he's sitting on a good run. He ran 2 turns in the fight prior to that at Keelan over the mile in the eighth, where he finished 7 by 7 3/4 lengths that day. He was with him early on from a wide trip. He was wide and then just couldn't stay the 2 turns. It just wasn't his day to win. And then late September, Churchill, mile 16th and opposite 175, went by 4 1/4 lengths. They went very slow. He turned into the pace that day and really flew home clear. Even though it was around 2 turns, and I don't think he's a 2-turn horse, he still won quite nicely. He is a multiple Derby winner. He won the Indiana Derby as a 3-year-old last year or 2 years ago quite easily with everything his own way in the front end. He came back to win the Virginia Derby after the West Virginia Derby after that. Again, everything his own way. When you go, 114 3/4, you're basically going to win. And he did just that. He's refreshing here. I know he's a shit price, but I think he can win. I think the 4-horse here, tour player for with work Beckman and Flavian can win also. He ran in the Hooper at Goldstream most recently, where he finished fifth by 10 1/4 lengths that day, and he was just wide, never getting into it. I thought his win prior to that Churchill closing weekend over the 7 furlongs and opposite 100 was quite impressive. Winning by 3/4 length from wide trip, he flew home clear. He actually won 7.5 prior to that in June at Churchill quite easily, also with a 94 buyer. He's refreshing here. He has some four-leaf kits. 92, I think you should absolutely adore this 1-turn mile. I'll use him in the pick four, or excuse me, the Old Dominion pick six that connects races 5 through 10. But to recount my selection for the fifth now from Colonial, it is the Royal New Kent Stakes. Going to take the 6-horse Dragon Guard. Give kudos to the 4-horse Tour Player, 6-4-1-2 Super, 6-4 in the multi race. The sixth event from Colonial. It is the Sandy Bottom Stakes. It's going for a $100,000 purse race for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 7 horses, again, going 1,600 meters or a mile on the main track. Going to take 3-horse running away. 3-6-7-1 for me in the superfecta. 3-6-7-1 super. Top selection 3-horse running away. This 4-year-old filly by gun runner Wesley Ward trains. Victor Espinosa comes in from the West Coast to ride this horse. I wonder if Victor Espinosa has ever ridden at Colonial. That's one for the books to check. But this horse ran most recently at Kentucky Downs, mile 5/16 in the Dueling Ground Oaks, back on turf for the first time since her Tyrrell campaign at a distance of ground. She wasn't into it. She finished 10th by 8 3/4 lengths that day. She was on the front end, but then just she yielded. Cutting back and trip back to dirt with the swords run very well, has forwardly kicked. I think she's going to be in a better spot to win than she was last time out. 2 back in the Monmouth Oaks at Monmouth, mile 16th in mid-July. She won by 1 1/4 lengths. She stalked, she got the lead, and then she got the job done. A very good race for her off the bench. And then the Horseshoe Indianapolis handicap at Indiana, mile 70 off turf on the slop. She won by 4 1/4 lengths again on the front end. She kept going a very good race. She was on the Oaks Trail early on last year, but she didn't really do a lot of running. She ran in the Ashland last year, where she ran a disappointing race, and prior to that, she won the Busanda at Aqueduct quite easily with everything her own way on the front end. Thanks to a speed favoring track, 1-turn mile. I think that's really up her alley here. I think the 6 horse Chasten for well, supposedly Irad, but now going to be a different rider, could find a trip also. Ran most recently at the Fairgrounds over the mile 70 in a allowance race where she won by a length, closing it from the backpack. She ran a really good race. She ran prior to that Churchill over the mile 16 to Optional 125, where she finished 7 by 7 1/4 lengths, where she just never really got into stride that day. And then, Derby weekend at Churchill over the mile 16th, she had a decent second place finish. Fred the Nar was the next start winner, went quite impressively, but this horse ran her heart out. Doesn't have any forwardly pace, it looks like, but I think if there's going to be a pace meltdown, I think she could be picking up some pieces late. I'll use her on the ticket, but to recount my selection for the 6 from Colonial now, it is the Sandy Bottom. Going to take the 3 horse running away. Give kudos to 6 horse Chasten, 3671 Super, 3-6 in the multi race. The 7th event from Colonial, it is the Sandy Bottom Stakes. They split this one, I guess. It's for the mayor's 4-year-olds and upwards here. We have a field of 7 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile in the Sandy Bottom second division. They really did split this one. I can't believe it, but they ran not a lot of rate. Why would they split a two? Why? What am I missing? Why they split this race into two? Into two races? Did they not have enough races to card on this race card? I don't get it. Could they not? Did they were they oversubscribed? How many horses here? 14 horses. They could have ran one 14 horse race, but I don't know. But my top selection here at the 7th, I'm gonna go with the number 5 horse, who is Miss Authentic. I'm gonna go 5764 in the superfecta, 5764 super top selection. The 5 horse Miss Authentic, Miss Authentic. So we're really by Authentic here. Eddie Keneally trains. John Velazquez gets the mount. Ran the horse most recently by Coa at Oaklawn, a mile 16, 7th of February, and she finished 5th by 14 lengths that day. And she just had nothing. She really just didn't show a lot. She didn't show anything actually, and a lot would be an effort. She didn't show an effort that day. She weakened out of it. That was a head scratcher. She's coming here to a lot lesser quality horse. Is back to Colonial, where she ran very well in the summer last year. I think she could get back to some winning ways. She ran terrifically two back in the allowance race at Oaklawn over the mile 16th right before Christmas. Went by 2 1/4 lengths that day. Come from mid pack. She was a little bit wide, but she flew home clear. An 85 buyer could definitely win this race today. And then an optional 80 at Churchill over the mile in the 8th at Churchill back in November. She finished third by 3.5 lengths that day, and she just didn't show up. It was her first turf dry. I would try maybe again, but she just really wasn't getting into it. Or excuse me, her second turf dry. She ran here last summer, the 17th of July, over the mile 16th in the main specialway. She broke her main by 4 1/4 lengths in the front, and she kept going. That was a very good, easy race. Came back to run against on the turf here, going mile 16th back in Labor Day weekend, where she had a decent third, where she didn't break so well, but she gained some ground. Coming here at 10-1, I'm gonna give her a shot on the ticket. I think the 7 horse here, a runaway diva for Julian and Michelle Hemingway could win also. She ran most recently in the Wayward Lass at Tampa over the mile 16th in early January, where she finished second by 1 1/4 lengths. She had the lead around the far turn, but then she just never catched Drexel Hill, who really freaked that day. She ran her heart out, but she still needed something more. Prior to that, the Delaware handicap at Delaware over the mile 8th in late September. Finished second by 6 1/4 lengths. Regaled really flew home clear. This horse was definitely second best. And then Twixt at Laurel, she finished second by 2 1/4 lengths, where she was just a little bit wide and a little bit flat. She's another horse. She likes running here on this dirt track. She's 3 for 2 here. She won a very nice optional 80 over the 1 turn mile back in August quite nicely. And her only defeat here came last early July, where she just was a little bit too out of it early on. She gained ground, but she just needs something more early on. Come back here where she likes doing her good running at 5-1. I'll give her a shot on the ticket. But to recount my selection for the 7 from Colonial, it is the Sandy Bottom second division. Gonna take the 5 horse Miss Authentic. Give kudos to the 7 horse Runaway Diva. 5764 Super. 5-7 in the multi race. The co-featured 8th race. The 8th race from Colonial, it is the Virginia Oaks. It's going for a purse of $250,000 here. Races for 3-year-old fillies. We have a field of, let's see, a field of 6 horses going 1,700 meters or mile 1/16th on the dirt course. Going to take the 2 horse Hit Parade as top selection. 2-3-4-1 Super. Top selection, the 2 horse Hit Parade. This 3-year-old filly by Street Sense. Brad Cox trans. Irad, again, supposed to ride. We'll have a rider to be announced. Most recently ran the horse in the Martha Washington at Oaklawn, a mile 16, 6th of February. And the horse finished 5th by 6 1/4 lengths that day and just never was really into it. Weakened out of it. It wasn't the day to win. I think refreshing here against some lesser quality horses around a 1 turn. forwardly paced. I think this horse could really improve off that race. I thought too back in the Untappable, she had, good thing races a mile 70, not a mile 16th, because that was really on her side. Went by a head. She stalked, she got the lead, she was drifting, but she held on to it. A very good, okay race, shall I say. Not great, because, the drifting really did cost her more margin of victory. Maybe she didn't want to go the trip also, but when she ran a one turn mile two back or three back at Churchill and a start and Lounge race, she ran terrifically, winning by a half a length, coming from mid pack. That was a very good race. She ran two turns prior to that, a main 50 at Churchill, where she won by 2 lengths that day. She had a bit of a bumpy trip going around the turn, but after that, she really settled well and really gained some ground late. She's training well at Oaklawn since her last recent race. I'm going to give her a shot on the ticket. I think the 2 horse Battle of Rouge for Bob Baffert and Flavien Cohen also ran most recently in the Sunland Oaks at Sunland over the mile in February. Off the bench, winning by 1/4 lengths, 40 cents a dollar, is basically a paid workout. Came home with an 86 buyer, which this horse really improved a lot from her 3-year campaign. Back to a larger test here today. I think she could do wonders. She ran two back in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies at Santa Anita, or excuse me, at Del Mar over the mile 16th, where she finished 6 by 5 1/4 lengths that day, and she just never really got into it that day. The stablemates really ran terrifically. This horse just wasn't into it. She won prior to that, the Del Mar debutante, quite nice over the 7/8 of a mile, 9-1, winning by a length, closing up in the back of the pack. I thought that was a very good race. She broke her main going 6.5 at Del Mar. Prior to that, even easier, even coasting home. She's run some good buyer numbers. She's definitely improved since her 3-year campaign, since her 2-year campaign. I'm going to give her a shot 6-5. But to recount my selection for the eighth from Colonial, it is the Virginia Oaks. Going to take this 2 horse hip grade. Give kudos to the 2 horse Battle of Rouge, 2-3-4-1 Super, 2-3 in the multi race. The featured ninth race now from Colonial. It is the Virginia Derby. It's going for a purse of $500,000. Race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 10 horses going the distance of ground of 1,800 meters or mile 1/8 here in the Virginia Derby. Going to take the 5-horse High Camp, 5178 for me in the superfecta. 5178 Super, top selection of 5-horse High Camp, 3-year colt by Instagram. William Walden trains. John Velasquez gets the mount. Not Triple Crown nominated yet. They said if he wins, he's going to the Derby. If not, he's not going to the Derby. And if he wins today, his next start will be the Derby. But he ran most recently 7th of February at Gulfstream, 7 furlongs in the main special weight, and he won by a length that day. A little lackadaisical early on. He was a little bit wide, but he flew home clear late. I think that was a very good race. He showed potential that day. I think getting to a longer trip, I know it's asking a lot from 7 to a 1 turn mile and eighth, which could be a little tiring at times. I think he has some forwardly paced that can really keep up and run a good race. 85 buyer wasn't bad at all. He ran prior to that in late December at Gulfstream, 3/4 in the main special weight, finishing second by 1/4 lengths. Probably 3/4 is a little bit too short for me. I think he's bred for the mile and eighth through and through. But he was on top early on. He got overtaken by Waymark, who just had the jump on him, but he didn't weaken out of it. I just thought he was grinding along and wanted more of a trip. Training quite nicely at Palm Meadows, a 5/8 mile drill in 1 minute and 2/5 of a second, and a 5 furlong workout in 102 and 2/5. Refreshing here at 9-2. I think he could really improve. I think the 1-horse Butane for Bob Baffert and Flavien Quinn also. It's good that last year D. Wayne Lucas won this very new Derby prep race, because it seems like he's won every single Derby prep race. So now that there was a new one for him to win it last year would be kind of cool. Bob Baffert, let's see if he wins another Derby prep race. It seems like he's won all of them also. But this horse most recently ran the Southwest at Oakland over the mile 16th, where he finished third by 3 3/4 lengths that day, where he was just flat. He didn't weaken out of it. I thought he needed more into it early on, but he ran his heart out. But this horse is bred for a mile and eighth through and through. Getting a longer trip here today, probably doesn't need the lead. He probably get a good tracking trip from where he's drawn. I think he can really improve off that race last time out. He's also proven he can run good races off coming from the other coast, which I quite like. He ran in the San Vicente two back of the 7 furlongs out of Santa Anita, and he finished second by 2 lengths that day. Not the best beginnings. He gained a little bit late, first off the 5-month bench. I didn't think it was a half bad race. And then he ran the Hopefold Saratoga with 7 furlongs on closing day, finishing second by 8 1/4 lengths behind Ted Nafi, the 2-year champion. He got beat by a very good horse that day. He was a little bit wide, but he really ran his heart out. He's only won once. That came at Del Mar going 3/4 in the main special weight. Won by 3 1/4 lengths that day on the front end. He really won quite nicely. Tell you the truth, out of all the Bob Baffert horses going into this year's Triple Crown Trail, I think he might be the best out of all of them. They think highly of him. He's a $1.1 million purchase. He's bred for the trip through and through. He's the Bob Baffert horse that we keep an eye on going to the Derby because I think he can be loaded here. I'll use him on the ticket. I think he, like I said, he looks like he'd be real deal. Freak out my selection now for the ninth from Colonial. It is the Virginia Derby. Going to take the 5 horse high camp. Kudos to the 1 horse Butane, 5178 Super, 5-1 in the multi race. So good luck to all. Please follow me on X at Horse Racing Kid 5. Good luck, everybody.